Hey guys, welcome everyone. I'm Cassie and today we're going to take a look at plank pose. So plank pose is another one of our foundational poses. Really sets us up for chaturanga. Really important to have a strong plank before you attempt your chaturanga, and it also sets us up for many of our arm balances. So it's a real strengthener for the shoulders and the core, but it's also a whole body pose. Okay, so every part of the body is engaged to get a really strong plank. And I often find that the legs are missing a little bit. Okay, so a couple of misalignments that we would see in plank pose, okay, would be a winging of the shoulders, okay, so drawing shoulder blades together, or a dipping of the hips and flaring of the rib cage, or a piked butt, a sassy butt. Okay, so remember, sassy butt is okay in downward facing dog, not okay in your plank pose. So to start with, we're going to go over our hand placement and our shoulder placement, which I've gone through in the last tutorial, the downward facing dog one. So if you haven't watched that, you might want to go back and check that out because that really gives you a good understanding of the foundations of the hands. So let's start by coming onto all fours. Okay, we're going to spread the fingers nice and wide. Hands are shoulder distance apart. And remember, you can have your index finger facing forward or your middle finger facing forward. So for me, it's index finger facing forward. Spread the fingers nice and wide. Grip the mat with the fingertips. Press down through the knuckles of the pad of the hand. Draw the thumb and little finger towards each other without moving them, and the thumb and the index finger towards each other without moving them. Opening that jam jar or turning the armpits to look towards each other so that you get that slight external rotation of the upper arm, and then firm the elbows towards each other. Spread the shoulder blades apart. Okay, so no winging of the shoulders here. You want to spread the shoulder blades apart. Now the head is just in a nice neutral position, neck in line with the spine. Okay, so no crunching of the neck and looking forward, and no dropping of the head. The dropping of the head usually comes with that winging of the shoulders. Okay, so keeping the head in a nice neutral position here. And then from here, once you have this stability and this foundation set, you're going to step the feet back as you straighten the legs and lift the knees off the floor. Okay, once we've done this, heels together. You can have feet hip distance apart, but otherwise heels together. Balls of the feet underneath the heels of the feet. Squeeze the inner thighs. Draw the tailbone towards the heels. Draw the hips and ribs towards each other. Knit the lower ribs in towards each other. Pelvic floor lifts in and up. Lower belly lifts in and up. So navel towards spine and up towards the heart. Okay. So this is your plank pose. If this is challenging and you find that you have that dipping in the hips, the winging of the shoulders, or that piked butt, you can simply come into plank pose, but place the knees on the floor and untuck the toes. Okay, work with everything else that we've just spoken about and build all of your strength here before you come into your full plank. And another great prop that I like to use when I'm teaching plank pose is a brick. Okay, the brick is going to help us to engage the legs more and the core. Okay, so if you don't have a yoga brick at home, totally fine. You just want to get something that is roughly the size of a brick, and you don't want it to be too soft. You want it to be something that is nice and firm that you can place between the legs. I don't know if your mind just went where mine did. Let me rephrase that. You want to have something that is nice and firm that you can place between the adductor muscles, the inner thighs, to help firm the inner thighs in towards each other. So I'm going to show you how to use the brick for your plank pose. Okay, so you want to place the brick in between the thighs. Okay, and then you're just gently squeezing the inner thighs towards the brick. Okay, so as I come into my plank pose, I set out my foundation. So find that hand placement, draw the elbows in towards each other, externally rotate the upper arm So no weaning out of the elbows. Spread the shoulder blades apart. Head in line with the neck and the spine. Tuck the toes under. Squeeze that block with the thighs. Engage the pelvic floor and the lower belly. Draw hips and rib points towards each other as the tailbone draws towards the heels. Now you will notice by using the prop, by squeezing with the inner thighs, you will really feel that engagement through the legs and through the core muscles. Okay, so really great prop. Highly recommend using this to see how you go. Now, one last thing we're going to look at is transitioning from downward facing dog into plank pose, because depending on the length of your downward facing dog will depend on how you transition into your plank pose. So if you have a short downward facing dog, that's when you'll find that you'll pike the butt up as you transition into plank pose. Okay, so we'll have a look at that. If I come up into downward facing dog, if I was in a short downward facing dog, okay, what would happen is I would inhale, come forward, bring the shoulders directly above the wrists, okay, and then you can see that my butt is piked up and not really in that plank position. So the next thing I would do if I was in a short down dog is I would roll forward, shoulders above the wrist, and then I would step the feet back slightly so that my heels were above the balls of my feet. Okay? So just have a play around with that if you're transitioning from downward facing dog into plank pose. Roll forward, shift the weight so that the shoulders are above the wrist, and then just gently step the feet back so that the heels of the feet are in line with the balls of the feet. Okay, so that's it. That's our plank pose. Jump on your mat, give it a go. Ask me any questions if you have questions and you need some feedback. Send me a video, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. See ya.